What is up, y'all? It is your boy Winston Wolf. I'm back. I just want to do a quick review. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Had a chance to see it early. I'm going to spoil it for you. Here we go. So the movie starts off with a Subway sign. Not a sign for an underground train, but for the crappy sandwich restaurant that gives you the runs. And I don't even want to call it a restaurant because that's insulting restaurants and other places that give you edible food. So we're just going to call it a Subway sandwich shop. So you see the sign above the Subway sandwich shop. Camera pans down, goes through the front window. Zooms to the inside. You see hanging on the wall is a small frame picture, and underneath it says proprietor. And who is it? It's Hank Pym. It's Mike Doug. He's a Renaissance man. Not only is he a scientist, but he owns a Subway. And then you see a patron walk by the frame picture, try to go to the bathroom. They push the door open, but then they back up like there's something there they don't want to deal with. But the camera goes in there, shows you what it is, and it's Kang. He's all Kanged out. Blue face, green vest. He's just staring in the mirror. His face is like an inch away from the mirror, just looking themselves in the eye. And you've seen this scene before in movies like Rocky, where a man has to deal with his inner demons, and he's just looking at the mirror, and then Kang just backs up, punches the mirror, shatters it all over, goes over the trash can, body slams the trash can, goes over the paper towel dispenser, yanks out a bunch of paper towel, jams in the toilet, just keeps flushing. Water's just overflowing all over, but he's wearing boots, so he's good. So then he goes over to the toilet paper dispenser, pops open the top. What does he do? Pees all over the toilet paper. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Marvel has tried to push me and many fans away in the last couple of years. But when you start a movie off in the first 3 minutes with somebody peeing all over the toilet paper in a public bathroom, you have won me over, Marvel. So then the movie starts. Marvel Studios logo. Marvel fanfare. Here we go into the movie. So the first scene, and I'm going to tell you this. This first scene is 37 minutes long. And it's a bold choice. And it's Scott showing his daughter how to insert a tampon. And I'm not talking about like physically inserting. I'm talking about he's got the little instruction book from the Tampax box. And he's just intently, just very detailed going through it. Because Scott wants to make sure that his daughter doesn't do anything the wrong way and get toxic shock syndrome. He's a father that cares. So 37 minutes into explaining this, Wasp walks in, and she's like, so, Scott, I went up on Google and was searching for Boston cream pies for our little get-together with the neighbors this weekend, and your search history popped up. And before she can get any more words out, Scott just jumps up and he just goon arms her. And I know you guys know what a goon arm is. That's when your girl is acting up in public and you can't old school her in front of everybody, but you gotta let her know you mean business, and that when you get home, some action is going down. And that's when you just grab them under their arm like this. You grab him under the arm, and you kind of lift him up a little bit. You're like, come here, let me talk to you for a second. Come on the corner. So he takes her around the corner. Just as he does that, Michael Douglas walks in, and he's with his wife, Michelle Pfeiffer. And he's like, Scott, I would bring it to you for goon arming my daughter. But, hey, I'm a man. I understand. That's how things goes. I mean, look at her mom. And you see Michelle Pfeiffer, and she's wearing, like, a sleeveless shirt, and she just got goon arm bruises. Because that's how you know you goon arm properly, is when they're those little round fingertip-sized bruises the next day on the girl's arm. That's when you know you did it properly. And Michelle Pfeiffer, just from, like, both arms, from shoulder to elbow, she's got goon arm bruises just all over. So then Hank goes up to Scott, and Hank's like, yo, check this out. I don't know why they think I'm the one to mess with, because Steve Rogers has a Raising Cane, and nobody acts up in there. But this dude, Kang, just tore up the bathroom to my Subway. Let's roll. So, in the meantime, Kang is on social media. He's at a sushi spot. He wants the clout. He's showing pictures of his little plates and everything like that. But he leaves his location on. So, Hank and Scott just roll up on him. They bust up and they're like, yeah, what's up now? And they're just standing over him. So, Kang, caught off guard, is like, wait. He's like, I know I messed up, but here's a peace offering. And he pulls out this little shower Bluetooth, like one of those Bluetooths that you stick to the wall in the shower. And he's like, look, he was like, I want to give you this to make amends. I'm going to tell you right now, this has no bass whatsoever. But if you're listening to a podcast, it works just fine. And for some reason, Michael Douglas is cool with it. He's like, all right, I'll take this for now, but we're going to talk. So Hank Pym and Scott go back to the crib. Michelle Pfeiffer, Ant-Man's daughter's back there, and they're like, hey, look what I got. And they're like, oh, cool, shower Bluetooth. So they end up turning it on. All of a sudden, lights, you've seen this in the trailer, just lights and everywhere. They get sucked in the Bluetooth, because it's not a Bluetooth. It's some kind of quantum sucky any machine. So they end up going to the quantum realm, or whatever it's called. And they start walking around, and they find this fortress. And they're like, okay, this is probably Kang's, but we have nowhere else to go. So let's just go up in there so we can get the story moving. So they go up in there, and the first thing they see is MODOK. And it's not the cool MODOK that we know from everything else. It's just a giant person with Down syndrome that's sitting in the corner eating buckets and buckets of Elmer glue with his bare hands. So then Scott, after seeing him, is like, you know what? Maybe when we leave here, we can shrink him down and we can take him to Vegas and he can count cards and win a bunch of money from us. And then Michael Douglas is like, nah, Scott, this is a totally different kind of mush brain. So then all of a sudden, Kang shows up. Not only Kang, all of his soldiers, his whole army. And they have all 5 of the Ant people surrounded. They got Ant-Man's daughter. They got Ant-Man. They got the Wasp. They got old Ant-Man. They got old female Ant-Man. They got them all surrounded. And Kang is like, you know what, Scott? I know your biggest fear. I shrunk down and snuck in your house and I found your diary. And your biggest fear is that your daughter makes it with a black man. And they just hit some like dramatic music. It sounds corny, but when you're in the movie theater, you're like, it's nice the way they did it. It's classy. And then Kang says, all of us have had her. And he does like this with his hand, does this with his hand. And you see behind him is like 400 Kangs. And then Scott just looks at Cassie. He's like, Cassie? And she just kind of like bashfully looks down like, yeah, I did it. And you just see the straight disappointment and terror in Scott's face. You're just like, oh, man. And then in the middle of Scott's misery, he just looks down and starts to slowly laugh. And Kang's confused. And he's like, what are you laughing about? And he's like, the joke's on you, Kang. I saw this coming a million miles away when my daughter would just watch BET for hours on end. So I shrunk down. And I got into her blood system. And I not only infected her with HIV, but you see that lesion on the side of her neck? I injected her with full-blown AIDS. And, yo, I'm telling you, when you go see this movie, when that scene hits in the movie theater, we're talking about Luke, I'm your father type of reaction from the crowd. Make sure you have your phone out to record everyone's reaction, okay? And then Kang looks at him and he's like, oh, yeah? The joke's on all of you because one of us got her pregnant and now you're going to have an AIDS-infested grandchild. And then Kang just looks up, ha, 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 ha. And then you just see Scotty just puts his hands on his head. He's like, no, no. Bam, credits. And there's no after-credits scene, but there is a point in the credits where it says Kang will be back, MFers, and it's not MFers. You know what it says. So, I mean, I'm buying the Blu-ray day one. So final thoughts on the movie. Number one, the amount of F words. Once it was 45 minutes into it, I counted 275 F words. And let me tell you, I loved it. I loved it. Number two, the amount of licensed R. Kelly songs. Marvel, you... just when I think we're finished, you do this to me. Especially near Valentine's Day. Also, dropping the N-bomb in the movie. Bold choice. Very bold, artistically done, but a bold choice. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, what else can I say? 10 dog bones. It is a classic. This is your boy Winston Wolf. I'm out.